So let's move along a bit to the Middle East. And broadly speaking, of course, this is an area where we have these wars that have gone on for a very long time. President Obama wanted to put an end to them. Afghanistan still going on, of course, a couple of decades later. To what extent has President Trump and the Trump administration's engagement with the Taliban, reduction of forces on the ground, saying that all troops are going to be gone shortly, is that path dependent? Is there much else that really can be done, especially given just how tired the American public is of this war?
Not a lot. I actually think that a President Biden would pursue a similar policy. It might get renamed. There would be certainly more emphasis on rights of women, education of women. Not that we're necessarily in a position to enforce that, but to the extent we could offer economic incentives, some military, we would. But fundamentally, Vice President Biden was never supportive, even of the surge back in 2010. He was far more realist about really making sure that our vital interests were protected in terms of support of terrorism, but otherwise getting out. So I don't see him reversing that now. And similarly, I think in the Middle East, he may he'll rejoin the U.S.-Iran, the European Iran agreement, the Iran nuclear agreement, for sure.
He will try to.
He will try to. And I think the Europeans will certainly encourage that. So he'll try to play a more active diplomatic role. You know, once you don't have troops there, it gets harder to play that role, and we are no longer seen as a neutral broker in the region. I mean, the region has changed so much, and it's going to continue to change, that I don't expect to see huge changes there either, other than to pull back from sort of unconditional support of Israel, regardless of what they do. There'll be, again, an effort to raise Palestinian rights and the idea of a two-state solution. They'll come back to that. But I don't see that being a major priority, certainly not initially. And I suspect when you look, other than U.S.-Iranian relations, when you look back at the end of a first Biden administration, you may not see that many differences.
I want to push back a little bit when you said that the U.S. no longer seen as an honest broker in the region. Are you suggesting that under Obama, Biden, that the U.S. was seen as an honest broker in the region?
Okay. That's a fair question. I do think more so. Again, with the Middle East, it's always a question of whose point of view. But I do think as at least when you were looking at Palestinian-Israeli relations, if you remember, Obama got into quite a lot of trouble by insisting that the Israelis halt settlements.
It's not right to prevent Palestinians from farming their lands or restricting a student's ability to move around the West Bank or displace Palestinian families from their homes. Neither occupation nor expulsion is the answer.
He wasn't able to hold that line, but he came in with it and he pushed it. He pushed it at the United Nations General Assembly. And when when the Israelis pushed back and refused to play, things essentially stalemated. So I do think, at least from the point of view of the Palestinians and various other countries who were still focused on the Palestinians, we had more of a neutral broker role, which is now completely abandoned.